And given you're creating this experience that's, completely legal, obviously, but it sounds like intended to be a gateway to some eventual future where perhaps microdosing is also legal in certain places. Talk to me about the brand and some of the decisions you made in creating the brand. I know a lot of your background is around brand identity and creation, and I know you've had a number of agencies that you've started or been a part of. Talk to me about that side of things.
Yeah, it was obviously a very kind of product forward brand. We had the idea for the product, we knew what we wanted to do, and we did a lot of the engineering of the product before we put a brand around it. A lot of I'd say the messaging and visuals came directly out of that effect of the product. So it's very energized. There's a lot of little kind of symbols everywhere that signify thinking and energy and things like that. So, it's a case of this one was very product forward and then wrapping it around a really nice brand and then thinking about how we communicate it. But, on an extra kind of level, we also started to think about who are the types of groups of people who would really benefit from a product like this. And it's any of the products that we're building, we're not really thinking about them as mushroom products. I don't see, and I love these brands, but I don't see Four Sigmatic or people like those as competitors. We're not really competing in the mushroom space, albeit that's what we're interested in as an ingredient. Mojo's competing in the energy space. Our beverage is competing in a very different space. Like we're coming at this from the use case, and so we're competing on these grounds. Like the reason why somebody takes Mojo is not because there's mushrooms in it. Like some people might be interested in that perspective, but it actually has an effect and an impact. If you're drinking a mushroom elixir or something like that, really it's, tends to be like health and wellness nerds or biohackers that generally want to get healthy and they think chaga mushroom will, potentially help them with some, with their immunity or something like that. So our products, we think of them as almost like mushroom 2.0. The mushroom itself is not the reason, the quote unquote reason to believe. The use case is the reason why people take these things. And so to take the strategy one level deeper, we started thinking about, well, who are the groups that could truly benefit from energy and clarity and focus? And so there's a bunch of audiences in there. We're really interested in the esports community, for example, because they all drink fairly disgusting energy drinks that have a lot of downside, but they all need energy. They all need to focus. They all need steady trigger fingers, or so we're interested in that group. We're interested in entrepreneurs and that kind of hustle kind of culture, but we're also interested in, we've been talking to medical groups about chronic fatigue. How do we get this into the hands of people that truly suffer from an energy deficit? And then there's some interesting conversation having about long COVID impacts, which chronic fatigue kind of comes into that as well. So there's a whole range of applications to the product and different audiences we can speak to. But like I said, the kind of core of the product is really what it does for people, which is, a really kind of good shot of energy and kind of crystalline focus and clarity of thought.
So that's interesting. That's it's sort of the double-edged sword of you're going after a broader use case, a bigger market, but also more crowded market, right? So how are you thinking about the differentiation? Because if it's broadly who wants to be more productive, who wants more energy, who wants more clarity, arguably everyone, first of all, right? But there's certainly an infinite number of substitutes, right? So from a messaging standpoint, what is that secondary element or primary element that you're using to differentiate and draw people into the brand?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, like to your point, it is a double-edged sword. The mushroom space is relatively crowded. So if you were just coming out with putting a bit of lion's mane in a capsule or something like that, go on Amazon and there's 50 different people doing that. Or after Four Sigmatic and Mudwater, there's at least 50 different coffee and tea brands out there doing basically the same thing. And so we really didn't want to compete or play in that space. We want to take the and do something new with it, like I said. And competing in the energy space is I like these kind of big space, and I like those use cases because, like you said, everybody needs that, and everyone needs a bit more energy, everyone needs a bit more focus. Truly, like most of the kind of drinks and supplements have a variety of different downsides. And so that's what we really wanted to take out of this, is how do we produce something that you weren't compromising on the effect and the impact, but you didn't have any of the kind of downsides that you have from a bunch of other of these supplements or beverages out there. And there's been a ton of science around impacts of energy drinks specifically. I saw one coming out of South Korea about specifically gamers, liver issues and all sorts of stuff around there. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to take these kind of natural ingredients, work out how we can stack them together to create something that really works, but level off any kind of downside that traditional beverages have had.